The tropical downpour hammered against the rusted tin roofs of Makola Market like 1,000 impatient fingers. It was 5:30 in the morning, and already the first vendors were setting up their stalls of tomatoes and smoked fish in the grey dimness. Beneath the makeshift shelter of a Kente cloth merchant, Ama Osei jolted awake, soaked to the bone. Water trickled through the cracks of the makeshift roof, turning her thin blanket into a frozen sponge. She rose with difficulty, every muscle protesting against the hardness of the cracked concrete floor. 26 years old, but her body felt 40 on some mornings like this one. "Ama, get out now. The customers are coming." The shrill voice of Ma Ajoa chased her away without mercy. Ama nodded silently, gathered her meager possessions in a torn plastic bag, and slipped into the muddy alley. The smell of hot kenki and fried plantain twisted her empty stomach. Tomorrow, she promised herself, tomorrow I will eat. She was crossing the main street when the roar of a powerful engine tore through the humid air. A massive black 4x4 with tinted windows plowed through a deep puddle, sending a wave of mud and stagnant water that submerged her from head to toe. The vehicle did not even slow down. Inside, Kofi Mensah, three-piece suit and gold watch phone pressed to his ear, was discussing millions of cedis. He did not see the thin, trembling figure he had just splashed, did not see the clenched fists, the tight jaw, the wounded dignity never broken. The rich Ama spat in twee, wiping the mud furiously from her face. They think the world belongs to them. 15 kilometers away, in the upscale neighborhood of cantonments where embassies stand alongside ultra-modern villas, the Mensa residence rose like a fortress of glass and concrete. Sparkling infinity pool lawn perfect as a golf course, high walls topped with surveillance cameras, but inside reigned the silence of a mausoleum. Kwame Mensah, 8 years old, stared at the garden from his chrome wheelchair. His thin, motionless legs hung like two dead branches. Outside, beyond the walls, he heard the crystalline laughter of other children playing football in the street. Once he ran faster than all of them. Once before the accident, before his mother died and his father transformed into a statue of ice. "Master Kwame, your breakfast?" The voice of Papa Yor. The 70-year-old steward was gentle but tinged with concern. The old man with graying hair set the silver tray on the coffee table. Scrambled eggs, golden toast, fresh mango, freshly squeezed orange juice, untouched like every morning for 3 years. "She left too," Kwame murmured without turning his eyes from the window. His voice was a thread, almost extinguished. "Who child? The lady with the glasses, the nanny from yesterday. I heard her crying in her room last night. This morning, her things were gone." Papa Yor sighed deeply. The 15th in 3 years, all fleeing the same man, Kofi Mensah, 35 years old giant of Ghanaian real estate, heart of stone, broken father, unable to look at his son without reliving the accident that took everything away. The old servant observed the silent child, this little boy who no longer cried, no longer laughed, no longer really lived and made a decision. He knew someone everyone underestimated, but who carried within her a rare gift. 2 hours later, Papa Yor found Ama near Ma Kokor's stall, in the poorest section of the market. She was kneeling in the red dust beside a street child about 6 years old, barefoot, torn shorts, right leg infected and festering. With precise and tender gestures, she cleaned the wound with boiled water, applied a poultice of crushed herbs she pulled from a small cloth pouch. The boy grimaced, but did not cry. "You will see, little brother," she murmured in Twi, her mother tongue. "In 3 days you will run again like the wind. You promise me, big sister. I promise you on my grandmother's memory." The child smiled despite the pain. Papa Yor approached quietly, deeply impressed. This girl who slept in the streets healed for free those whom overcrowded public hospitals rejected. Miss Ama Osei. She looked up immediately suspicious. A well-dressed elderly man, impeccable white shirt, pressed pants. Well-dressed men never brought anything good to girls like her. "Who are you?" "My name is Papa Yor. I work for a family that needs you." Ama's face closed like a safe. "I am not for sale, sir." I'm not talking about that, Papa Yor replied with a sad smile. They are looking for a nanny for a child, a special child. You would be housed, fed, clothed, and paid 500 cedis per month. Amma's heart leapt in her chest. 500 cedis, a fortune, enough to resume her nursing studies abandoned since her parents died in the cholera epidemic 8 years earlier. Enough to finally leave the dirty and dangerous streets. What kind of child, she asked cautiously. An 8-year-old boy paralyzed for 3 years following a car accident. He needs someone who does not see him as a condemned invalid, but as a living child, Amma reflected. She had heard the rumors about the Iceman of cantonments, about his luxurious villa cold as a morgue, about the nannies who fled crying. Why me? I have no official diplomas, no written references. Papa Yor placed his wrinkled hand on her shoulder. Precisely, my child. You have something more precious than all the diplomas in the world. You know how to heal with your heart. An hour later, Amma crossed the golden gates of the Mensa property, her pitiful plastic bag in hand. The walls were so high they blocked the midday sun. Surveillance cameras pivoted silently like vulture eyes. A uniformed guard looked at her with contempt before opening the gate. She walked up the impeccable cobblestone driveway, her sandals repaired with wire, clicking pathetically on the luxurious stone. The villa stood before her massive, imposing soulless, despite its architectural beauty. Ashanti masks adorned the exterior walls, prisoners of concrete like ghosts of the past. Papa Yor awaited her at the main entrance, massive teak doors. Welcome, Amma, and courage, you will need it here. Upstairs, behind a window with ivory silk curtains, an elegant woman watched them. Ibena Mensah, 40 years old, Kofi's younger sister, Black Chanel, suit pearls around her neck, impeccable bob cut. She slowly brought her latest phone to her ear. Her smile was as cold as the air conditioners humming in every room. Yes, she murmured in English. She just arrived. The little mouse is in the trap. Proceed as planned. She hung up and took a long sip of French white wine while observing this miserable girl in soaked clothes who dared cross her threshold. Amma looked up at the imposing facade and shivered despite the crushing heat of Accra. She did not yet know that by crossing those golden gates, she had just sealed the fate of 2 families separated for 40 long years. Nor that she carried within her in that torn plastic bag the key to a secret that would shake the Mensa empire to its marble foundations. Papa Yor guided Amma through the entrance hall of the villa. Immaculate white marble crystal chandeliers, icy air conditioning. On the wall, authentic Ashanti masks stood alongside modern bronze sculptures, but everything seemed dead, frozen in time. On the mahogany console, photo frames were turned face down against the wood. Why are the photos hidden? Amma asked in a low voice. Mr. Kofi cannot bear to see his wife's face since the accident. They passed by an immense bay window overlooking the pool. The turquoise water sparkled in the sun, perfectly clean, perfectly unused. Beyond the walls, the living sounds of Accra floated, taxi horns, street vendors shouting their prices, distant high-life music. Here, only the hum of air conditioners disturbed the silence. Before the accident, Papa Yor confided, stopping before a door. Mr. Kofi was not like this, he laughed. Played with Kwame, dreamed of building social housing for poor neighborhoods. He was a good man, and now, the old man sighed. Now, he is a ghost in a house of ghosts. The kitchen door opened abruptly. A round woman with a warm smile came out, floral apron tied around her waist, smelling of ginger and pepper. Ah, the new one, she exclaimed in Uwe, the language of the Volta region. I am Akosua, Amma, she replied, relieved to finally hear a familiar accent. Akosua examined her from head to toe, then nodded with approval. You have good eyes. That is rare here. Come, I will show you your room. In the service stairway, Akosua whispered. Beware of Ibena, the master's sister. She wants the little one to stay sick. I do not know why, but be careful with her. The service room was Spartan. A narrow bed, metal wardrobe window overlooking the perimeter wall. But for Amma, who slept under market stalls, it was a palace. She put her bag on the bed when heels clicked in the corridor. Abena Mensah made her entrance without knocking. Impeccable black suit, heady perfume wrapped her gaze. "So you are the new one," she said in French, inspecting Amma like one inspects dubious merchandise. "The level is certainly dropping." Amma clenched her fists along her body, but kept her head high. "Listen to me carefully." Abena continued walking around her. "You are here to do your job, period. Do not get attached to the child. Do not get ideas about your place here. You are replaceable. Am I clear?" "Yes, madam." "Good. And no village witchcraft, understood. My nephew needs modern medicine, not sorcery." She left as abruptly as she had entered. Amma sat on the bed trembling with contained rage. At 8 o'clock precisely, Kofi's black Mercedes pulled into the driveway. Papa Yor called Amma to the ground floor. Kofi entered, wrinkled suit, loosened tie, briefcase in hand. He stopped seeing Amma, sized her up like one looks at an insect. "Can you read?" he asked without preamble. "Yes, sir." He pulled a thick file from his briefcase and handed it to her. "My son's medical protocol, 40 pages, medication schedules, physiotherapy exercises, dietary restrictions. You apply it to the letter, no initiative, no improvisation." "Am I clear?" "Yes, sir," Amma replied, her throat tight. "Another thing, my son will not leave the house, too dangerous. He stays inside always." He climbed the main staircase without another word. Amma remained frozen, the heavy file in her hands, humiliated but determined not to cry. The next morning, Papa Yor led her to Kwame's room. Immense room, intact toys on the shelves, chrome wheelchair near the window. The child had his back turned, observing the garden. "Kwame, this is Amma. She will take care of you now." Silence, the boy did not move. Papa Yor left discreetly. Amma approached, gently knelt at the height of the wheelchair. Kwame finally looked at her. Immense eyes, dark circles, tragically beautiful face. "You will leave too," he murmured in an extinguished voice. Amma smiled gently. "Wo din desen?" she asked in Twi. "What is your name?" Kwame's eyes widened. No one had spoken to him in Twi since his mother's death. "No one. You speak Twi. It is the language of my heart," Amma replied. "And you?" For the first time in 3 years, something lit up in the child's eyes, a tiny spark of hope. That night in her Spartan room, Amma took out her grandmother's leather journal, carefully wrapped in cellophane. She opened it in the lamplight. A yellowed photo slipped and fell on the bed. Amma picked it up and her heart stopped. A smiling young woman in traditional cloth stood before a modest clinic. Beside her, an elegant man in a 60s suit. His arm around her shoulders, Amma immediately recognized that face. She had seen it in Kofi's office. Nana Mensah, Kofi's father, Kwame's grandfather next to her grandmother Adwoa. Amma's hands trembled. What did this mean? At the same moment on the upper floor, Abena Mensah dialed a number on her secure phone. "Watch her closely," she ordered coldly. "If she discovers anything about the clinic or the will, you know what to do." 5 in the morning, Amma carried Kwame in her arms to the garden, the 40-page medical protocol forgotten in a drawer. The child weighed almost nothing, fragile as a bird. "Where are we going?" he whispered, surprised. "Where your mother surely took you, under the sky." She settled him on a mat under the fragrant frangipani. The purple bougainvilleas exploded with colors. The weavers sang their morning symphony. Amma took out her bottle of shea oil mixed with crushed wild ginger. "Will it hurt?" "No, little brother, it will wake up your sleeping legs." Her expert hands massaged the atrophied muscles in circular movements, moving from ankles to thighs. Kwame closed his eyes. For the first time in 3 years, someone touched his legs with tenderness. Not like a disease. "I will tell you the story of Anansi, the cunning spider," Amma said in Twi. "Do you know it?" "Mum told it to me before. Then I continue for her every morning for 2 weeks." Amma repeated the ritual. Massages, healing songs in Yue traditional tales. On the 14th day, as she massaged his right foot, Kwame cried out, "Amma, I felt it." My toes moved. She looked, her heart pounding. Indeed, 3 toes trembled weakly. "You see," she murmured, tears in her eyes. "Miracles exist." 3 weeks later, Amma was telling how Anansi had tricked the sky god. She mimicked the spider with her fingers, theatrical voice comic grimaces. Suddenly a sound she had never heard filled the garden, Kwame's laughter, crystalline, pure, alive. The child laughed, holding his stomach. Again the story. Amma laughed with him, holding him close. Neither saw the motionless man near the garden gate. Kofi Mensah had left the house to go to work when he heard that impossible laughter. His son's laughter, 3 years of silence broken. He had frozen, his briefcase falling from his hand. Amma looked up and saw him. She stood up ready for anger, reproaches, dismissal. But Kofi was not shouting. He stood there, petrified, eyes shining. His face of ice was cracking. A tear rolled down his cheek. Papa Kwame called, uncertain. Kofi opened his mouth, no sound. Then, in a broken voice Amma barely recognized, "Continue." He picked up his briefcase and left, hastily wiping his eyes furiously. That night, from his office, plunged in darkness, Kofi observed through the window. Amma rocked, sleeping Kwame singing a lullaby in Twi, the same one his wife sang once. A second tear fell, then a third, the first since the funeral. The next day, Papa Yor found Amma in Akosha's kitchen. "You are working miracles, little one," he said softly, "but be careful. Careful. Mr. Kofi's father, Nana Mensah, had a secret affair in the 60s with a brilliant healer. He wanted to marry her, but his family refused. He helped her open a clinic in Nima. Then he died suddenly in a car accident. The clinic mysteriously closed. Amma's heart pounded. This healer, her name, I do not remember. But Abina was in the car during the accident. She alone survived. Upstairs, behind her window, Abina gripped her phone, her face distorted with rage. She had just seen the garden scene. Kwame's laughter, Kofi's tears. "Accelerate the plan," she hissed into the device. "This girl is becoming dangerous." The next morning, Amma was summoned to the Grand Salon. Kofi was there, dark suit, closed face. Abena sat enthroned in an armchair, glacial smile. 2 doctors in white coats stood upright, files in hand. "Gentlemen," Abena began, "theatrically explain to my brother what this person is doing to his son." The first doctor, western grey beard, cleared his throat. "The medical files are formal. The child will never walk. The nerves are irreparably damaged. Any hope of healing is cruelty. You see, Kofi Abena spat this witch, applies her witchcraft on a vulnerable child. She gives him false hopes that will destroy him when he understands the truth." She turned to Amma, triumphant. "You are fired immediately." Kofi, pale, stared at the marble floor. The silence was deafening. Amma waited for him to speak, to say something, but he said nothing. The silence of the salon was unbearable. Kofi still stared at the floor. "Papa," a small voice suddenly murmured from the door. Kwame had dragged himself out of his room, clinging to the walls, his face flooded with tears. "Papa, do not let her go. She makes me want to try again, please." Kofi finally looked up, torn. "Abena, give me 48 hours to think." "Are you joking?" Abena spat, "This manipulator, 48 hours, he thundered. Abena left the salon furious. Amma returned to her room trembling, knowing her time was counted. That night, unable to sleep, Amma took out her grandmother's journal. By candlelight, she turned the yellowed pages to an entry dated August 15th, 1963. "Nana came today. He wants me to close the clinic and become his shadow wife. I refused. I will never be a secret, even for the man I love, but I carry his child. My son will be born free, even if poor." Amma's breath blocked. The son mentioned was her father, which made her Nana Mensah's granddaughter, Kofi's half-niece, and Abena surely knew it. That was why she wanted to chase her away. The next evening, Kofi was traveling to Kumasi. Amma found Papa Yor in the garden. "I must see Kofi's office. There are documents I must find. It is dangerous, little one. More dangerous than remaining ignorant." Papa Yor hesitated, then nodded. He knew the combination of the old safe, hidden behind Nana's painting. In the dark office, Amma discovered bundles of documents. Nana Mensah's original will, the Nima clinic, and a substantial fund were to go to Adwoa Osei and her descendants. But a falsified version dated 1 week after Nana's death cancelled everything. Abina's signature as witness, even more disturbing recent bank statements. Abina was embezzling millions to offshore accounts. My God, Papa Yor murmured, she is stealing the company. A motor sound in the driveway, headlights sweeping the walls. She is coming back. Amma panicked. Too late. Abina burst into the office, her face distorted with rage. Dirty snooper, she threw herself at Amma. Papa Yor tried to interpose. Abina pushed him violently. The old man toppled, his head hit the corner of the mahogany desk. He collapsed unconscious. Papa Yor Amma screamed, rushing toward him. Abina, calculating, took out her phone. Police! I need urgent help. An employee just attacked my steward and burglarized my brother's office. Villa Mensa cantonments quickly. 10 minutes later, sirens tore through Accra's hot night. Neighbors came out on their verandas, witnesses to the scandal. Ima was brutally handcuffed by 2 policemen, while an ambulance took Papa Yor away. Kwame, awakened by the chaos, appeared at the top of the stairs. Ama no ama in Twi. She shouted with all her strength. Remember, Kwame, you are stronger than they think. The van started as Kofi's Mercedes crossed the gates. He jumped out of the car. What is happening? Oh, Kofi. Abina sobbed, falsely devastated. She was an infiltrated thief. She attacked Papa Yor and searched your office. I found this. She brandished documents, but not those of the will. Kofi, stunned, was about to speak when his gaze fell on something on the floor, an old leather journal open on a yellowed photo. His father, Nana Mensa, next to a radiant young healer. He picked it up slowly, his heart pounding. At the Osu police station, Amma was thrown into an overcrowded cell, smell of sweat of despair. An inmate pushed her. You too, how the rich always win. But Amma did not cry. She closed her eyes and murmured the prayer in Yue that her grandmother recited, facing injustice, the same one enslaved people in chains recited, the prayer of those who refused to bow their heads. In the Mensa villa, Kofi locked himself in his office. He read every page of the journal feverishly, the impossible love story, the clinic, the pregnancy, the threats. Then he came upon the penultimate entry, dated December 20th, 1965, 3 days before his father's death. Nana wants to legalize everything tomorrow, publicly recognize our son. Abina discovered our plans. She came to see me today. Her eyes. I saw something cold, calculating. She told me my father will not waste the family inheritance on a village whore. I am afraid. Kofi's hand began to tremble violently. Abina was 18. She was in the car during the accident. The brakes had mysteriously failed. She alone survived without a scratch. He picked up the phone with a trembling hand. Inspector Mensah, this is Kofi. I need to reopen an investigation into my father's death. Yes, after 40 years, because I just discovered it was not an accident. In the overcrowded cell of Osu police station, fluorescent lights buzzed like flies. The hot, humid air smelled of sweat and cheap disinfectant. Ceiling fans sluggishly stirred the stifling air. Amma sat in a corner back against the cold concrete wall. A young pregnant inmate moaned, holding her swollen belly. Are you in pain? Amma asked softly in Twi. The girl nodded, tears in her eyes. Amma searched her pocket, pulled out a few crushed peanuts, all she owned. Here, eat, the baby needs strength. Then she massaged the girl's back with precise gestures, her healer hands soothing the pain. The other inmates approached, attracted by this woman who still gave when she had nothing, but Amma's heart bled. Kwame, my little Kwame, who will massage him tomorrow morning, who will tell him Anansi stories. In his office, Kofi read the journal page after page. Adwoa's fine handwriting told an impossible love deep true. His father, the respected businessman, fallen in love with a penniless healer. He discovered a letter folded between 2 pages from his grandmother, the one he had loved so much. My son Nana, help this woman and your child. Do not repeat the mistakes of our ancestors who abandoned their mixed-race children. Love is worth more than pride. His father had promised, then died 3 days later. Kofi turned the last page, dated December 20th, 1965. Abena told me, my father will not waste the family inheritance on a village whore. Her eyes were cold as death. I am afraid for Nana. I am afraid for our son. 3 days later, accident brakes failed. Nana dead instantly, Abena unharmed. Kofi felt rage rise cold and devastating. He picked up the phone. "Inspector, send 2 officers to my villa discreetly. I have a confession to record." Midnight Kofi had Abena come to the office doors locked. 2 policemen waited outside. "What is so urgent?" She sighed, annoyed. Kofi spread the documents on the desk, the journal, the falsified will, the offshore bank statements. Abena's face drained of color. "You searched my safe. Our father trusted you. Fatal mistake." Abena burst into icy laughter, all masks fallen. "You were weak. Kofi always whimpering about your dead wife and your crippled son. This company would have sunk under your sentimental direction. I did what was necessary for our family. You killed our father. I saved our inheritance." She spat. He was going to give everything to that whore and her bastard. The breaks were easy to sabotage. Nobody doubted I was 18, the devastated, traumatized daughter. Her voice was devoid of emotion, pure sociopath. "Feelings are for the poor, Kofi. We survive, and this little healer of nothing will not change anything. She will rot in prison." Kofi opened the door. The policeman entered. "Abena Mensah, you are under arrest for murder, will falsification, and embezzlement." Abena screamed, struggled like a fury. "You will regret this, Kofi. This company is mine. Mine." The handcuffs clicked. They took her away. 2 in the morning, Kofi pushed through the doors of Osu police station. The policeman recognized him, saluted him. He demanded Ama Ose's immediate release when the bars opened. Ama came out exhausted, hair undone, wrinkled clothes but head high always. Kofi before the policeman. The inmates, the stunned guards, fell to his knees on the dusty floor of the police station. "Forgive me," he murmured, his voice broken, "for everything, for my blindness, my arrogance, my cruelty. You brought my son back to life when I had given up. You brought light into a dead house, and you are of my family, the family we denied." Humiliated, stole. Tears flowed without restraint. This man of ice finally melted. Ama, trembling gently, placed her hand on his bowed head. "Rise, Kofi, strong men do not kneel in shame, but rise to repair." He stood, their eyes met. Kofi saw in her no longer the poor nanny, but a queen in rags, heiress of a murdered love-bearer of ancestral wisdom. Ama saw in him no longer the man of ice, but a broken man finally learning to love. The inmates murmured in Twi and Ga, witnesses to this impossible scene, the rich at the feet of the poor. In the silent car, Kofi revealed everything. Nana's murder, the stolen inheritance, the embezzled millions. "Everything rightfully belongs to you. The clinic, the money, the Mensa name. I will legalize your status as heiress." Ama closed her eyes for a long time. "I want the clinic to reopen in my grandmother Adwoa's name, to treat the children of Nima for free. The embezzled money, use it to build that social housing you dreamed of. Abena will go to prison, but discreetly. Kwame must never know his aunt is a murderer." It was the choice of wisdom over vengeance. Kofi nodded, overwhelmed with respect, then timidly, "And you, Ama, will you return to the house? Kwame is waiting for you, and I." His voice broke. Ama placed a finger on his lips. "Let us first bring your son completely back to life. The rest we will see." A smile, fragile but real. 6 months later, Accra's sun shone on the renovated neighborhood of Nima, where shacks and muddy alleys once piled up a modern clinic with brightly painted walls stood proudly. Above the entrance, golden letters, Adwoa Memorial Clinic. The inauguration ceremony attracted hundreds of people. Traditional chiefs in majestic Kente families from the neighborhood, in their Sunday best, children dancing to the rhythm of traditional drums. Journalists immortalized every moment. The smell of waki and fried plantain floated in the air. Kofi Mensah stood at the entrance, unrecognizable. No more Western 3-piece suit. He wore a magnificent blue and gold kente symbol of wisdom and reconciliation. Beside him, Ama radiated in an embroidered traditional cloth hair, braided, adorned with pearls. My brothers and sisters of Accra Kofi began in Twi, his voice carrying through the loudspeakers. 40 years ago, my father loved an extraordinary woman, Adwoa Osei, brilliant healer, generous heart. He promised her this clinic to treat the poorest children. This promise was stolen today. I finally keep it. The crowd applauded warmly, but that is not all. With funds recovered from dishonest people, we are launching a construction program of 200 affordable social housing units because my late wife always told me a roof is not a luxury. It is a right. Thunder of applause, drums resounded. Papa Yor recovered from his injury, hair whiter but smile radiant, cut the red ribbon alongside Amma. Tears of joy flowed down his wrinkled cheeks. Nana, he murmured toward the sky, your promise is kept, rest in peace, my friend. A Kosua, named head of the nutrition program, was already welcoming the first families into the brand new kitchen where she would prepare free meals for malnourished children. Then came the moment everyone was waiting for. Kwame Mensah stepped forward, not in his wheelchair, not with crutches. He was walking, slowly, carefully, but he was walking. Each step was a victory torn from the impossible. His legs trembled slightly but held. 6 months of daily massages, traditional exercises, unwavering faith. The crowd held its breath. Some wept openly. Kwame reached the microphone, Amma discreetly supporting him. He spoke in Twi, clear voice despite the emotion. My mother gave me life. Amma taught me to live, and my father is learning to love again. We are all miracles. The ovation was deafening. The drums exploded. Women launched shrill ululations of celebration. After the ceremony, as the sun declined, painting the sky orange and purple, Kofi joined Amma in the small garden behind the clinic. She was planting medicinal herbs in the red earth of Africa, wild ginger she neem. Kofi knelt beside her, this time not in shame, but in respect and partnership. Their hands dug the fertile earth together, Amma, he said softly. I ask nothing of you today. You have already given so much, but I want you to know this cold house you warmed, this broken child, you healed this dead man you resurrected. We will wait for you as long as it takes, if you want us. Amma smiled, eyes shining with happy tears. Plants need time to take root, Kofi, like people, like true love. But look, she showed the small green shoots already emerging from the freshly worked soil. When the roots are strong and the earth fertile, life always finds its way. They remained there side by side, hands in the same earth. Kwame joined them, resting his head on Amma's shoulder. A family rebuilt not only by blood, but by love and resilience. Papa Yor from the veranda observed the scene, smiling. Somewhere the spirits of Adwoa and Nana smiled too, finally reconciled. In a cell at Nsawam prison, Abena Mensah stared at the grey wall. Sentenced to 15 years for embezzlement and falsification, the murder charges could not be proven after 40 years. But the truth was known. Her empire had collapsed, her name sullied. She had lost everything by wanting to keep everything. In the streets of Accra, where the luxurious asphalt of cantonments meets the beaten earth of Nima, they now tell a story, not a fairy tale where the poor become rich by magic, but something more precious. The story of a girl who had nothing but carried everything, the wisdom of the ancestors, the dignity of the humble, the power of healing transmitted from generation to generation. She taught the rich that true wealth is not counted in cedis, but in rediscovered humanity, and to the poor that their inheritance is not misery, but the resilience that has flowed in their veins for millennia. Because it is always when the powerful agree to fall to their knees that the humble can finally stand upright, and it is in the earth of our African roots, never in the cold marble of pride, that true miracles bloom. Amma Osei did more than heal a paralyzed child. She healed a broken family, restored justice, deferred for 40 years, and reminded everyone that true greatness does not lie in what we possess, but in what we are capable of giving, especially when we have nothing. Which city are you watching from? Comment down below. And if this story moved, you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our inspiring stories. Your support helps us continue sharing these tales that celebrate the strength and beauty of Africa. Thanks for being part of our community. See you soon for another story.